My name's Dave Weston. This is my seminar.
I didn't want to see you when you came home, 'cause you always try to hurt me, and that's so low. When I talk to you about it, you're in defense mode. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. How can we work on ourselves when you say no? Whoa, oh, oh, oh. I'll never go on like this, so don't you think you got me again?
Hello.
Hi dear. Let's get that a-hole.
Got it, mate. It's going to be my only fan.
Can you like squeeze it a little bit? Nice, I can see it moving.
Alright guys, going to run through some, the main aim is to look over the Yoko Sankaku, which is a side triangle for non-Japanese speakers, which is pretty much everybody. So with the side triangle, which is used as like a secondary attack from the Kimura. So it's going to be pretty much split. A lot of it's going to be Kimura based stuff. It is like a Kimura based game, and then using that as the secondary. So obviously like the Kimura itself, just such a valuable weapon to have, because it's just so applicable everywhere, and the triangle being the same, and then it mixes the two together. It's just a wicked little game plan. I'll probably start, I'll run you through perfect scenario. So we'll start like in the perfect side control, set it all up as if it was going to be perfect, which is never going to happen, truth be told, but then we can work backwards and start looking at what happens when they start throwing spanners in the works and all the rest of it. So we'll start off perfect side control kind of position, or at least I say perfect, where I like to be in these side control positions. I like to keep my hands open, so a lot of people like this, which works as well. I prefer to have, I like to take this lap grip, armpit grip here. Love this position here, nice and easy to pull his head in, drop my shoulder on his face. It's a nice savage position in there. So we're going to go there. I'm going to make sure I've got this arm trapped here. We're going to go over what happens when he starts getting like little bits in afterwards. So don't worry, as I say, I'm going to nail this as if it was perfect, and then we're going to fuck it up a bit along the way. So I'm coming in here, my elbow's tucking inside my knee, which means that arm's going to be trapped. It also means I can drop my weight on his head without leaning, without squeezing. All of my weight drops onto his face and chin with like little to no effort. Now this arm wants to stay on this side of the head, and then I'm just going to tuck like the middle of my forearm here. I'm going to chop into the side of his tricep here, nice and tight, pinching my elbow back towards me, and I'm just tucking the head on top of it here. Obviously, a lot of his aim is going to be to start getting into these kind of positions afterwards. For now, we're just going to keep it there, and we'll go over that afterwards again. So I'm going to be in nice and tight here, nice and tight on his head, and then we can just start to get our partner to move around a bit from here, just testing ourselves out more than anything. Now, as long as I've got my shoulder on his chin, pull him in and make him look this direction, it means his bridge in this direction is going to be little to useless. He's not really going to be able to come over here. The more I make him look this direction, the less his spine will even allow him to start coming in towards me. So we've got that nice and tight, and then the other one's going to be keeping his elbow off the floor. So if he starts trying to move away, start going away. Second his elbow comes to the floor, he can actually physically start going over this direction. So simply being here, if his elbow can't come to the floor, he's going to struggle. He'll start going. He's going to struggle to go. Tuck this arm in. If he does manage to go, a little thing, no, forget that's it. Just going over that way. As he starts to go here, if this elbow stays on the floor, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. He's not actually going to make it. Obviously, if he gets there, he's going to give up his back. If you are like worried about him making it all the way over, as he goes, I'm going to swap to a grip here and pull my elbow across his body. Start going that direction. Go, go, go. Even with an elbow push, push the elbow as well. Here, he's never going to make it there because that elbow can't come to the floor. Second the elbow comes to the floor, he's going to make it to turtle, start trying to regain guard and whatnot. So that's going to be the main mechanics of holding him in this position. Holding the armpit, pulling the elbow inside my leg, dropping nice and tight on his head, and then just making sure I've got good control of this elbow. Obviously by controlling the tricep here, hand tucks in towards my neck. You don't have to like keep it anywhere in particular. Just here, it's mainly with this elbow pinch on the side of him here, just holding people down there. Does that make sense? So that's perfect. I don't like to like hold positions for very long. Even if I set that up and held him, 1 minute down the line, he's going to find a way to get out. So we will be attacking from there. Just make sure that that position's nice and tight, and we'll move on from there. Okay? Literally just a couple of minutes. Do you clap?
We do on the 1-2, yeah.
3, 2, 1.
1-2.
1-2?
Yeah.
1-2.
Is there anything else I should be doing with my hand?
So we'll go straight into the Kimura now. Again, make sure you're starting from this position each time because it does change. The more awkward he is in this position, it does change like the outcome later on, which we will go over. So I'm going to start in this position again. Now to go for the Kimura, in reality, this arm's got to be on this side of my head. That's why we're starting here. It's kind of important to set up on this arm. So I'm going to start pulling him towards me. I need him up on his side here to start creating space, to start getting the arm round and finishing the Kimura. So this pinch between my forearm and his tricep here needs to be super tight. And in reality, as long as you're squeezing in nice and tight here, I'm going to be able to base and literally lift his body weight up with this grip. Obviously that's over exaggerated, I don't want to see you pulling him up that far, but I've got to be able to lift him onto his side with that grip. So I'm squeezing in tight here. Now I'm going to switch, obviously to pull him towards me, this shoulder on his face is going to hinder it. I can't pull him up and squash his face here. So I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to come round and put my hand palm against his jawline here and physically push his head back this direction. Yeah, it's a little bit brutal, which it makes it even better obviously, but at the same time it means as I pull up you start to separate the shoulder and really get some nice shoulder separation before you set up the Kimura. So I'm coming around here again. The main thing you've got to be worried about bringing your elbow over is like the elbow push or anything. People who like that escape, they'll be waiting for this and they'll be pushing the elbow. Again, if he does this straight away, pulling the elbow back, he's not going to achieve it. I can come back in and come back to this position. So just be wary. Anytime this elbow's coming over his head, this elbow push here and doing this kind of thing is a bit of a nightmare. Just be ready for it. Again, pulling the arm across is going to save you in that position, so just be ready for that. So I'm in here, again. Thinking about the elbow push, I want to keep it as tight as possible. I don't want to do any over-exaggerated movement here and give him a chance. So I'm going to come over the top. Thumb's going along the line of his jaw here. I'm going to push down on his head. I'm going to start to lift up. Now as I lift up, I'm going to start travelling around the head towards a north-south position. So I'm going to come round, I'm going to start stepping up onto my leg, and then separate his shoulder here, staying super tight on his arm. And then I'm looking to get my knee behind his shoulder blade here, and your balls right on top of his head. So I'm going to go here, and straight into this position. In fact, come around a bit here. So I'm lifting up, coming to here, stepping, knee behind his shoulder blades, balls on his head, into this position and make sure there's a squeeze between your legs here. Now I'm staying tight to this arm. I don't really want to give him the chance to grab anything. Again, we'll be going over all this stuff later on, but for now I'm keeping it nice and tight up in the air. This squeeze I'm creating between my forearm and his arm, I want to replace with a squeeze on this arm. So again, I'm going to chop in nice and tight here, and then I can come to the hand here and start finishing the Kimura. We'll go for a simple finish to start with, but I want to go for an even tighter finish afterwards. So as I lift up here, this arm replaces that arm. Come to the wrist, nice tight wrists. Don't let your wrists start flopping here. That's one way to keep the pressure off the Kimura. Rotating my wrists, make sure they're nice and tight in this position. Then to get the tap from here, I'm going to pull the elbow in towards me, hand behind the back, and you get the tap there. Now just be wary, there are freaks that have like super loose shoulders, and you'll get here with them, you'll get to here and they still haven't tapped. We'll go into another position afterwards. There's not many of them, especially the heavier you go, the more they're likely that you get the tap. Yeah, that's pathetic. But there are people, you get here, they still haven't tapped. One thing I'd say, never give up your position here, so don't then start trying to lean, throwing your own position off or going to the next position after that. So if you get up here, I'll try and do a shit one, to like here, don't then start trying to like do anything stupid with your position, maintain the position at all times. So come back to perfect position here, hands coming around the head, palms going on the jaw line here, pushing them down towards me, step up, pull up, separate the shoulder, knee underneath shoulder blade, squeeze between the knees here, swap, catch, nice tight finish there. Does that make sense? Again, that is the simplest, like perfect form of it. Again, we're going to mess it up a bit later on, but in an ideal scenario, that's how it goes. Does that make sense? Let's have a crack at that. 1, 2.
Get that out. Get that out.
That's like more dramatic.
I see most people finishing this anyway, so. So we'll go over the alternate finish, which is way more powerful in reality, and yeah, obviously anybody with flexible shoulders, this is the way you've got to kind of adjust it to get them. So we'll get them here, here. Now, second the hand comes towards the back here, and you kind of know, sometimes you know, like if the hand starts to move way too freely here, you know they've got flexible shoulders. The alternative finishing position, my main aim is going to be to get this elbow on his hip, and then I'm going to come back down flat to this position, obviously with the Kimura grip. So I've got the Kimura grip, I'm going to keep this nice and tight at all time. Elbow is going to come to his hip here, I'm going to sit down to my right hip and put him down into this position. So this position now means that I can like circle his arm probably at least 180 degrees, maybe further. Not just that, I much prefer this position because I'm still just sat on top of him. If like something crazy happens, I completely lose my grips, I'm in a great position to just come back, carry on fighting from side control and all the rest of it. You can find in here, if I lose my grips here, he's going to be up on single legs and doing, yeah, you don't know how to wrestle. Up on single legs, all kinds of madness. So I've got less control here compared to if I was in this position here. You lose your grips, you're pretty sound, you know you're going to end up in a decent-ish position. So as I come down with this grip here, I'm going to sit here, my right cheek's going on the floor, I'm going to leave my leg over the top of his head here, and obviously I'll still have the Kimura grip here. So some of the key points here is being my elbow on his hip and my hand on his wrist, means that he physically can't bring his hand back in to create a grip. Not even a strength thing, just physically I've got a bone in between his hand and his hip. He's not going to be able to like crush that bone, so I'm going to be safe knowing that he can't get it back in for a grip, which is nice. And then obviously the extra finishing mechanics are great. So when I come to finish here, I still want a decent bend in his elbow, so I'm going to bend his elbow up here, hand towards his back, and then I'm going to flare my elbow to his elbow here, and then I can keep his hand on the mat and pull his elbow towards me to get the finish. Again, tendency from this position, you see a lot of people coming here and again going for like crazy. You'll definitely break his arm in this position, but again, if you lose the grip and he's got like the possibility to try and push up on top, so I want to keep my weight down on top of him here. Just make sure, obviously I want all my pulling power to come on his elbow. I don't want to be pulling his armpit, it's going to be a nightmare. So here, I'm going to flare my forearm out to his elbow here, keep the hand on the mat, keep my weight through my hips on his chest, and I can just pull his elbow towards me and get the tap there. Super strong. Obviously if he is flexible and you get to like here and the hand starts to come up, you can send the hand through as well. You're going to turn his arm 180 degrees. So get to here, here. Call this. I'm going to go elbow on the hips, sit to this position here. I'm going to bring the bend back into his arm a bit. Keep the elbow on the hip here. My forearm's already on the elbow, so now I'm ready to go. Hand on the mat, pull the elbow towards you. Get a nice strong finish there. Does that make sense? That's the position I prefer to finish the Kimura every time. Obviously you see loads of people finish the north-south one, so it's not that neither work, that's just my preference to finish from there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Have a go at that and we'll move on. 1, 2. Come back and take pressure.
Little finger right. I'll step to
What you doing more? Both hands above the head. Yeah. Move upon them. Yeah. Fucking neck round.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Again, well, so we've gone from start to finish there. Perfect scenario, finish with the Kimura. So we'll start throwing in little bits. So we're going to add the Yoko in. Yoko Sankaku, again, it's just a side triangle. From this, when he grips his hands together here. So as I come over to this position, now this is quite specific to having his arm trapped here to begin with. If it's not trapped here, it's somewhere else. This ends up happening a little bit different. Again, I'm going to cover it before we're finished anyway. But again, specifically, make sure you've got this arm trapped nice and tight before you go. So as I come over here, the main reason being, as I come up towards this Kimura here, I don't know where best, feel free to just walk around if you can't see what's going on. Here and here, specifically, as I come round here, his arm drops in between my legs and I come into this position. Now, if he gets the chance to grab his arms together, it ends up behind my leg here. So obviously, standard triangle mechanics, one in, one out, that's literally what he's done to himself here, and he's holding his one in, one out in this position. So I'm always going to keep the Kimura, and it's one of the key things about this is the triangle. There's loads of fun stuff you can do off this, but you've got to remember the root reason for not being able to finish the Kimura is this grip. If he ever lets go, you just Kimura him, and we'll come back to that in a sec. So I'm keeping my Kimura grip. He's got his hands tied together, so again, if they weren't together, you just Kimura him sound. They are together, which means I can now pull this far shoulder in. So I'm going to keep my Kimura grip, I'm going to come down to my left hip here, and my aim is going to be to drop here. My leg's going to end up under his body. I want to put my left leg underneath his head into this position. Second I land here, I want to close whatever triangle I can. It's very rare you're able to actually finish it with the first triangle you grab. We're going to have to adjust, but I want to close this position as fast as possible. So I'm here, I've still got my Kimura grip. I should still be holding this elbow tight to my chest. Again, if you're being uki for whoever's doing it, make sure you've got your hands together at all times. We're going to go over what happens if they let go. So I'm here, nice and tight. Because his hands are together, that means I've always got access to his back arm. If I can't get his back arm, you can't finish the Yoko, really. So from here, I'm going to let go with my right hand, keep my left one, so I've got the pressure on the elbow here. I'm going to come through the gap in the middle and catch the back of his tricep. So I want to pull this through. There's a bunch of different grips you can do this with. If his hands are together and you can get access to the back of his tricep through the gap, this is always going to be the best option. So I'm holding nice and tight here on the back of his tricep. That means now he can't escape and I'm free to release my legs again. So I'm holding this, I'm releasing my legs. Now to make this triangle as strong as possible, I'm going to turn my hips down towards the floor. I'm going to kick this leg through. So I'm turning my hips down, kicking this leg through, back heeling up behind my leg here. Then when the second I hit here, I'm going to back heel with my left leg up and squeeze between the knees here and get the tap. So that's, you alright, James?
Yes, sir.
It's still alive. So that's the finish. I'll go over the finish once more before we go set up again. Again, second you land here, nice, just catch whatever you can, almost like closing your guard, just anything to make sure this arm stays. Be through the gap, back of the tricep, pull in tight, open the legs, kick through. So I'm taking this adjustment from here to here. That's the main key. I'm kicking through, facing my hips down, back heeling with my right foot to get it into the triangle, back heeling with the left foot and squeeze between the knees here, and you'll get the tap nice and strong there. So, side here. Again, this arm's going to be in the middle, so if you end up here, there's something else again we're going to cover in a second. You have to do some different shit to get it from there. It's when this arm's in between my legs. One in, one out. Classic triangle. I've got the Kimura grip. As long as his hands are together, I can always pull that far arm in. If his hands are released, I Kimura him. So I can guarantee, he's saving himself in the Kimura by doing this. I sit down, make sure that my left leg is underneath his head and not underneath his body. You almost, let go here. Almost want like my leg to be like a pillow to his head. That's the position you want to be in. I'm going to stay nice and tight here, feet through, catch the tricep, hips down, kick through. Nice tight finish there. Again, if they're doing it to you for now, keep your hands closed. We'll go over what happens when they release. The only real escape to that position is for him to release the hands, but we'll go over that in a sec. That make sense? Yeah. 1, 2.
Your arm. Yeah.
That one on that one. It'll make sense in a second because if you're about to go this way, you're about to be more kick through and then break that. Now you can come back that direction. Let go. No, okay. Let go of this. So you're putting that into the triangle and then go hips down. Get hips down first, stretch this through, now go triangle. Yeah, get that there. And then now start to back heel this, but roll back in that direction. Yeah, back heel this.
What does that look?
Yeah, so now you can back heel that and squeeze between the knees. And the main reason that will happen is you haven't stayed tight on the shoulder. So we've like kind of nailed that position now. We're going to come back to side control. We're going to start looking at when he starts like fucking about from side control, because it can start to alter like what you're going to do later on. So the first thing we're going to look at is this classic position here. If he gets this in, or more importantly, I think a lot of the time, unless you're being lazy, if you land here, he shouldn't really ever get this in, unless he's like exploding and making space. A lot of the time you'll find you pass guard, and like as you come round, these arms are going to kind of be in these positions, so you have to deal with this position. So there's a couple of different things to look at here. If his hands across the neck, elbows out in front of my arm, much better position than if the elbow's inside here. You've got to be super wary about this one because he's very close to coming up on singles and all kinds from there. Bit more of a nightmare. We'll look at both though. So first thing I'm going to do, if he's in this position here, I'm going to want to pummel my hand to the inside position here. So I'm going to keep the pressure with this left hand. I can keep this all the time. I'm going to pummel this hand into this position here. I'm going to go palm up. So this means now I can create an S grip here. This S grip means now I can pull down my left hand and up with my right one. Give me a bit more pressure. Up here, so I can start fighting to create this space. So my aim is going to be to create space between his elbow and his ribs, so I can get my head down, round, and back it in. There, bring it back in there. So here, he's got it in. Pummel through and punching through this gap. Again, just try and stay tight with your elbow at all times. Don't start doing like loose movements or anything. Elbow stays tight to his chest, punches through this gap and goes palm up. And I can connect an S grip here. I'm going to pull down my left hand up with my right so I can create this space. And the second it comes here, I'm going to pummel my head back to this position. Second I get here, I'm going to stay super tight to his body so he can't start trying to bring it back in the other side. Release, pull down and get it here. And again, if you have to do that and you get it to this side, make sure it stays there this time. Don't come here loose, he drops the elbow and comes back in. You'll be like, fuck's sake, just going around in circles. So again, hand comes in, here, drop the elbow back, hand comes in, palm up, create your S grip here. I'm going to bring my left hand down, right elbow up to this position. I'm going to circle my chin and head to the inside, come round, tight to his chest, pull down, and then nice and tight on this position. And the reality is the second you land here, like my philosophy normally is, as long as I'm attacking, he's not escaping. So I like to go straight away. You could hold him here, of course you could. I mean, if there's like 15 seconds left of a match, you're up on points, you're probably just watching the scoreboard at this point. But in reality, you should just be going straight away, starting to go here and here. So that's kind of what I want you to do. You can do a few reps of that, get used to it if you want. But I want you to get it round to that position. Get into that position and then attack straight away. No, go on. No, yeah, no. No, go on. We'll have it at that. 1, 2. So we're going to go this time. We'll keep this arm out. We'll look at this arm in a bit. As I was saying, this one being in the neck here. Little different if the elbow's inside. Now there are things you can do to kind of come out and get this back, that's fine. It's kind of a no-brainer really. If he's got the elbow in, I can't start to do that until I've got the elbow back, so I'm going to draw my elbow back and then I can even pummel back in there and there. The main issue with this, and I wouldn't be hanging around if this elbow starts to come in, is because it turns into an underhook like scarily fast. Just a little bit of space here and that's into an underhook. So I'd want to react slightly differently. If he's ever coming towards an underhook or looking like he's going to go there, my chain of thought normally is as his arm travels across his body, I want my arm to travel across my body as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a block on his hip on this side. Now when my hand comes across, I want to put my hand right underneath his ass, which sounds kind of gay, but I want to put my hand under his ass, and that's mainly because then with a bent elbow I can then start to straighten my arm and physically get pressure here. If I just go with a straight arm, I can block it, but I can't actually apply pressure. If I go hand underneath his butt and I've got a bent elbow, if he starts trying to put pressure in, I can put pressure back. And it's only a little detail, but it can make the world of difference rather than just going next to his hip here. So we'll be in this position. It could be here, he could just be throwing the underhook. If his hand starts to travel, yeah, so does mine, here, and I'm going to go across this far here. Second I've done this, we're going to come round towards the north-south position. So I want my head, so I've blocked the hip this side, I'm going to use my head to block this side. So as the hand comes over and blocks here, I'm going to travel forwards, I'm going to cover his hip with my head, and I'm physically pinching using my neck, using this straightening of the arm. I've got pressure either side of his hips here, and I'll start to travel round to this tripod north-south position here. Now I prefer the tripod position mainly because I can use my legs again. So a lot of what we're doing is using our legs to attack. I can stay tight down here, but this means like my legs are kind of out of the game. Second I come here, I can still start physically attacking with my legs again. So that's going to be my aim. Next thing I'm going to do once I get to this position is to trap this arm on this side. So it's going to be the opposite side to my head. If you think I'm still attacking the Kimura on this arm, I'm just going to trap the opposite arm. So by the time I come around here and here, I'm coming up onto like my toes here, making sure I've got nice control of the hips. I can dig my knee inside, across his chest muscle and down, trapping the bicep here. That's what I'm looking for. Spin around here. That's it, down there. So it's here, he's going for an underhook or whatever. I'm going to block the hip here. I'm going to release this arm, my head's going to come to his hip. I'm going to run round to this position. Now I'm up on my toes, I'm going to dig my knee in through his chest here and then down and trap the bicep on this side. Second I've done this, I can start fishing for grips on this Kimura here. So I'm going to stay tight with my shoulder, I'm going to bring this hand back and I'm going to start looking for this grip. Come back around this side. So I'm going to do this like nice and high off him so you can see, but in reality I'm going to be staying this low at all times. This hand's going to come through, palm up, I'm going to look to create a grip on his wrist or even his hand here. This arm is going to stay right by the side of his tricep. So the theory is going to be, as I pull this hand out, that arm's in place to create a Kimura again already. So I'm going here, I'm feeding in, I'm catching the hand, this arm's lining up against his tricep ready to catch the Kimura. I'm going to pull through, up, in, and create the Kimura grip. Now from here, I'm going to sit my hip down and be straight back into the finishing position we started with, and you can finish from there. So we'll be here, he's going underhook. I'm going to follow him, block the hip, come forwards, round, dig in, trap this arm, find the hand with my other arm, pull out, create the grip, and I can just sit down to this hip and the exact same finish we started with from there. Does that make sense? Have a crack at that, and then we've got some more stuff to add on into that position. Let's have a go. 1, 2. Catch his wrist then, that wrist. No, he's free hand. So there's something I want to look at when you end up doing this. Let's fast track up to here. If I start trapping this and going Kimura here, and he connects the hands together, this is where shit gets a little bit different because I was talking about the 1 in, 1 out before. If I come out, there's none in, none out. There's got to be 2 in, 2 out. I'm not sure which way they are. 2 out, none in. So this is like, I can't actually just sit to the Yoko here, go and keep that. So I've got the Kimura here. Best option, if you want to force the Yoko Sankaku, would be to step up and just step into this gap. Second I step into this gap, again his hands are connected and we're able to fall and pull him back in and finish as we were. So this is going to rely on, come on this way. Good job, not away anything. So if I'm here, I would have that pinned here. If I've got this pinned, more often than not, it means there's a gap between his elbow and his ribs. If there was no gap between his elbow and his ribs, this becomes tricky and you probably have to use different options that I should cover, hopefully, before we finish. If I'm here, there's a good chance that that gap exists, so I'm just going to lean, put my weight onto the other leg, making this leg weightless. and step through the gap. Second I step through the gap, I can do the exact same triangle. I've got one in, one out again. So just be careful. If he grabs up here, don't start falling for the Yoko. It's not there because he hasn't got one in, one out. I'm going to maintain this space, step through the gap, and then fall into this position and finish the Yoko as before. Does that make sense? So do the exact same setup. Let your partner grab their hands together, set up the Yoko. Make sense? 1, 2.
Just not the same.
Not me again.
You got that on the camera, yeah?
Yeah. Now really squeeze it. Shit. I was like, fuck me, is he a ninja?
Got something to avoid. Too strong.
You're right there. Had a nice time.
I'm going to go, I'm just going to fast track to there. You can carry on with the same setup if you want, as I come to here. So he's got the hands together. Now he has to maintain the hands being together because of the threat of the Kimura. This is where I'm bad for this myself. The Yoko looks cooler, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to get it. You've got to remember, the only reason I'm doing the Yoko is because he's got his hands together. If he lets go of the hands, I should instantly be swapping back to the Kimura. Not just that, it becomes very hard to finish the Yoko. His escape is actually going to be getting his elbow to the floor through this gap and starting trying to get out there. So the second he lets go, that'll be him escaping, so you do have to react quite fast. If I manage to maintain a grip on the wrist and let go, but I've got here, I don't know if anybody watched at the trials, Nicky Ryan, I think it was his first or second fight, finished the Yoko with this grip, which was quite cool, but it's the same theory. If I've got a grip here, or even here, I can still finish, that's fine. If the elbow goes and I can't no longer grab that hand, I've got to move, and move fast because he's on the way out. That's why the whole time we're doing this, connect your hands again, the whole time we're doing this, I've got to maintain this squeeze with this hand here. Even when I'm here, everything I'm doing, this stays there, because the second he lets go, I go here and here. Second I grab the Kimura grip, elbow to hip, exactly how we did right at the beginning. Elbow to hip, switch my hips, come up, and we're back to this position here. So you're playing the two against each other. As long as I've got this Kimura grip, he's got to keep his hands together, otherwise I can do that Kimura. And then obviously that gives me access to the far arm and I can finish the Yoko. If I'm here and he's scared about the Yoko, he lets go of his hands, can't get the Yoko, come back to the arm, switch the hips, come up and finish with the exact same mechanics we kind of started with. Does that make sense? Have a quick go at that, because that's super important. As much as I love finishing the triangle, the second he lets go, just fuck it, the Kimura's there, it's on, just send the Kimura straight away. You just have to accept that you don't get the flashy finish. Does that make sense? So we go, 1, 2.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hold it for a second till you get in deep
So that's what you find. I don't want to keep adding too much because it's going to start getting a lot, but I'm going to stick with the same finishes, just more issues when we're like trying to build it up. So we're going to deal with the near side arm this time. Now this can be, you could have fucked up and he's got both arms inside. Obviously if he's got both arms in and the elbow in, you're probably in for a bit of a shit time. It's very hard to control somebody here. We'll look at it like this for now. My rule normally is, if he's got both in, as much as this one creates a lot of a lot of like movement, a lot of space, but this one's the one to be careful of, because if he gets on his side here and connects his knee and his elbow together here, he might as well be in guard. It's very hard for me to get this back open, and he's pretty much going to fucking fuck you off and put you in some kind of guard. So as much as he can't create much space with this, he's not far from this, and this is going to be him getting his guard back. So if he has got both in, get both in, here and here. As much as you've got to be wary of this one, because this is the big bridge maker, I'd still deal with this near side arm first, because you're closer to him getting out from the near side one than this one. So yeah, it doesn't matter where this one is, you keep it there for now. And there's a few different things you can do to start trying to get this out here and here. It can be a nightmare with a decent grappler. They're just stubborn as hell, and it's really hard to get that. Plus, I don't really like moving like my hips around that much. So a slightly easier way to do this, well, slightly harder but more solid way to do this, is I'm actually going to travel back towards his legs, which seems kind of backwards, especially if you've just passed his guard. You don't really want to head back that way. But my aim's going to be to get my right knee alongside his body here. I'm going to start travelling down and making sure that it stays underneath his butt, which pretty much means I'm going to stay in front of his quad muscles here, means his knee can't come in, and I'm actually safe down in this position. But what I am doing, come on here, is I'm creating space between his elbow and my hip. When he's in this position here, you should be like really strong on your hip, and they can even like start to lift you a little bit with that pressure here. So as I come down here, his elbow's actually going to leave my hip, which means now I can start to pummel my knee inside and trap his arm here. So we can start fast tracking ourselves to this like arm trap Kimura from this position. Now if he's got this arm in as well, I'll trap that arm, and then I'll deal with this one here, here and here, and then go for the Kimura. So as I was saying, this one to me, you're more urgent to try and get rid of this one. So even if this one's in, I keep lots of pressure on it. It can be awkward on your neck. It's not going to be enough to tap you. It's normally enough to change your voice a little bit. But yeah, it's not that bad. So you can keep pressure on it. Right knee's going to stay super tight to his body, and I'm going to slowly move down and circle my right knee underneath his butt, which then means this elbow is no longer on my hip. I can lift the knee up through this gap, down, trap the knee here. If this is in, if this was out the whole time, you sound to crack on towards the Kimura. If it's in here, I'm going to deal with this now. Create the space, come in, trap it, nice and tight here. I'm going to go round for the Kimura the way we were before, just be where it's slightly different. I'm going to keep the trap on the arm. All I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my legs. So I need this leg to obviously travel around the body. I'm going to make space. So I'm going to slide it towards the forearm, which is going to make space for my right foot to come in. So try not to completely let go of it and give him like control of it back. I'm just going to slide my foot away from his body, just enough to bring my right foot back in here. The second I've got that trap, I can pick him up, go Kimura and all the rest of it. It's going to be very similar to the first one we did, but again, you're going to have this issue where there's not one in, one out. If he doesn't connect his hands together, sound, go and Kimura him. If he connects the hands together, create space, and Yoko, okay? So again, you can choose how you start. This time the arm's out, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to travel down, right knee staying tight, travel down, left knee's pummeling in, trap. I can start setting up here. Just before I go, I'm going to switch the feet, so I'm trapping it with the other arm, step round in Kimura, and do whatever makes sense from there. If he's gripping Yoko, if he's not, just pull his arm off. Make sense? 1, 2.
How funny was that?
The last thing I want to cover is when you're going for the Yoko, put their fucking elbows tight as shit to their ribs. It becomes a nightmare to kind of get the position. I don't know which way to fucking teach this. We'll stick with the same setup, because it's good practice to get here, make sure you're solving this issue, here, coming round again. This is going to be the same problem where I'm in this position, there's not one arm in, one arm out, and his elbow is tight as fuck to his body here, so that's where my foot's got to go. I've got to create a position here. It can be horrible to do this. You don't really want to fuck about too much. So a nice easy option here, if that is tight, I can't get there, is to stand up with the left knee into his armpit and sit back off to the arm bar in this position. Now when I do these arm bars, I like to keep his shoulder elevated. Mainly means that when I start, once the grip's broken, as I come back, you'll finish the arm bar there. So you've got like a good chance of just turning his elbow inside out. Coming back here, you're going to get the finish there, rather than if his shoulder's on the floor here. As I come back here, you'll get all the way back here, and then you've got to elevate your hips. You'll find if the shoulder's elevated here, as I come back, you'll finish it way up here. A nice savage arm bar there. So, obviously his grips, he's going to have grips. That's the whole reason I can't Kimura him, is the fact that he's got grips. So I'm going to get here. The fact is, breaking the grip from this position is a nightmare. Like when he's got this grip, it becomes really hard to actually break that grip. There is stuff you can do, but I'd rather move on here and here. Way easier to break the grip from this position. There is like literally loads of stuff you can do to break the grips from these positions. I'll go for a nice easy one. It's kind of a one size fits all that I use a lot, especially because of the Kimura grip. I want my arm to be going from the legs to the head. This arm here, I'm going to leave it attached to my forearm on this arm. I'm going to use both to pull through, and I'm going to try and put my hand on my hip here, stay tight. So I'm going to come through, I'm going to pull it real tight with both arms, leaning into this position here, and then I'm going to lean my weight this direction here. So this is putting like Americana-ish kind of pressure on it, and it uses no effort whatsoever, it's just my body weight. Once I've done that, come through, collect the wrists, pull, extend, and finish the arm bar. So from this position here, I can use, especially when he's staying super tight here, it's very hard to pull this one arm through. That's why I leave it attached to this one and use both to pull it through to this position. So I'm pulling all the way through with both, getting onto the hip, and then I'm going to lean my body weight in this direction. Gets loads of pressure on the grip, it's just using my body weight. Come through, elbow deep on the wrist, collect, extend, out. Get a nice tight finish there, okay? So again, this will work anytime you're looking for the Yoko, so you've got like you got the Kimura grip, the leg's out, so you don't already have the leg in, and this is tight there. Rather than trying to do anything like stupid, trying to fish that in, it's never going to work. Just lift the other leg, sit, armbar here, out, in, break, finish the armbar. Does that make sense? Let's have a crack at that, and then I'll add one little detail in and we'll fucking finish it there. Make sense? 1, 2. So just to go full circle, yeah, that's fine. If I'm in this armbar position here and here, move around if you can't see, so I can't be able to move anymore. In this position here, now, fucking hell, Ben Popperton will kill me for this. There is so many good ways to start breaking these grips that there's never really a reason to move on submission-wise. But just so like, I like doing stuff like this mainly for the scrambles. If he starts like running around, escaping in certain positions. If I circle this foot to the inside, you're literally straight back onto Yoko position from there. So you can see how like a lot of these positions all interlink. You can just keep swapping and changing. The reality is that should be a finishing position. You should just be breaking the grip and taking his arm home. There is like the odd occasion, if I'm here and here, he starts moving around and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to break this. And feed through here and get to here. Probably a safer position in reality because it's a lot harder for him to run around and escape. And again, the only way he's going to do that is by letting go of his grip. Second he lets go of his grip, he's back onto the Kimura anyway. And just going around in circles between these submissions. Does that make sense? We'll end it there anyway because it's about time. But yeah, full circle there, straight back to the Yoko again. Yeah. Keep going right.